Disney just announced their brand new Genie and Genie Plus services. It's replacing fastpass, and there's a lot of discussion on the internet about it. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Or maybe something else? Disney just announced the release of their brand new Genie and Genie Plus system and the demise of the old MaxPass and FastPass Plus systems. This is a new system in the park that is designed to help you book your rides, to plan out your day, to see what you're going to do, and hopefully even out crowds. And FastPass, or at least what it was, is being incorporated into it with a new name and a new system and a charge. So to better understand if this thing is actually good or bad or how it might work, let's go back and let's take a little bit of a look at what FastPass originally was. FastPass was originally introduced on a limited number of attractions, generally the most popular ones. They marketed it as a way to save time in lines, but the real purposes of it were twofold. One, it was to help spread the crowds out, to get them out of the long lines, to get them over into some of the other rides that didn't have as long lines. It also was a way to get them out of the queue and into the stores and the restaurants to spend more money. This was really the ultimate goal, is let's spread them out and let's make bucks off of it. Even though they're being marketed as free and everybody's thinking, hey, this is great, I can skip the lines. Truthfully, it's to get them out of line and into stores. Ultimate purpose. But at the same time, it worked very well. It was free. They limited the numbers. It was generally a pretty decent system. Well, then they introduced several years back at Walt Disney World FastPass Plus, where they added it to a lot more rides, allowed you to book it on your phone, although you could still use it in the park. But then you got to start booking it 2 months in advance. Hey, on the surface, this sounds great. Here's what happened, though. They devoted 75 to 90% of a ride's capacity to people with fast passes. It meant if you didn't have a fast pass, you were stuck in a long line or not riding. And it made those lines much, much, much longer. Sure, you might save time on one ride, but you were going to more than make up for it with the longer waits on the other rides. What it ended up doing was it actually changed lines from something like Space Mountain with a moderately long line to a huge one. As an example that I like to tell people, we used to go to Walt Disney World on Christmas Eve when they would close the park at 11 o'clock because it hit capacity, it was full, there was nobody else allowed in, you were walking shoulder to shoulder, you couldn't get anywhere, and Pirates of the Caribbean had about a 45-minute line because it didn't have FastPass at all. That was the actual line. Then they put FastPass Plus on Pirates of the Caribbean, and on a day that had a third of the guests, Pirates of the Caribbean was now an hour-long wait if you didn't have a fast pass. Why is it longer on a day with a third of the number of people than it is on a day when they can't let any more in? Because fast pass killed the capacity, and they were sending everybody through the fast pass line. If you didn't have one, you were stuck. It meant you had to plan 2 months in advance to get on the big rides like Flight of Passage or Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And if you didn't get it, well, good luck then, because you were looking at a 2 or 3 hour long wait on a ride that, if it didn't have Fast Pass, would have an hour, maybe. In fact, if you actually look at the numbers that are coming out of Disney right now for wait times, there's a wonderful site out there called Touring Plans that will tell you what the wait times have been. And over the last month or so, since Disney has been open, rides that have huge lines, Peter Pan typically 90 minutes wait with FastPass, has had an average wait time of 47 minutes over the last 7 days. And over the last year is 34 minutes. A third the length because there's no FastPass. Space Mountain, which would have an hour and a half wait with FastPass, if you're on the standby line, its month over the last 30 days is 45 minutes. And over the last year is 38 minutes. Lines are shorter without FastPass. Let's go for the big one here, the one that everybody thinks of. Oh no, you're never going to be able to ride Flight of Passage. Flight of Passage used to have 3 hour long lines. 3 hours on days that were a half to 2/3 capacity. Flight of Passage over the last 7 days has been 94 minutes. Still a long line, but 94 minutes. However, over the last year, it's 54-minute average. It's down to half to a third of what it used to be without FastPass. So here's what you're really saving with the old FastPass Plus system. If you've got an hour-long wait on Flight of Passage and you wait 20 minutes for FastPass and make that hour-long wait much longer, you're really only saving 40 minutes. But that 40 minutes is made up when Expedition Everest line triples in length, and Kilimanjaro Safari's line quadruples in length. And you take that 40 minutes and you start adding in an extra 50 minutes at Kilimanjaro Safari, and an extra hour to get on Navi River Journey, and an extra 45 minutes to an hour to get on Expedition Everest, and you haven't saved any time at all. In fact, before COVID, the average guest at Disney actually experienced half as many attractions at Disney as they used to with FastPass Plus. And in fact, those wait times I'm telling you now, they might sound long, but keep in mind, this is also at a time when there's no shows, no parades, and character meet and greets, and other things, also absorbing guests into line, which would actually make these waits even shorter. Think about that. No FastPass, and this is what your lines are doing. Real life example. A couple years back, we were blessed to be able to go to Mickey's Not So Scary at Magic Kingdom. While we were there during the daytime, because we spent the day at Magic Kingdom, Space Mountain with FastPass running consistently had a 90-minute standby wait, 60 to 90 minutes. As soon as the party started, they killed FastPass. No more FastPasses allowed on Space Mountain. The length of the line for Space Mountain grew and was actually almost out to the Tomorrowland Transit Authority, the People Mover. However, the actual wait time for that line went down to 30 minutes. Even though there were a lot more people in line, and there were actually a lot more people in the park, the wait time shrunk because FastPass wasn't killing it. That's what FastPass Plus did. The whole point wasn't to shorten your waits, it was to make you get out and spend money. Disney then decided, you know what, this isn't working real good. So at Disneyland, they started a system called MaxPass. MaxPass, you could get the old paper tickets free still if you wanted to do that. But if you wanted to start booking fast passes on your phone, well, you could pay $15 for that, but it would also include your photo passes. It meant you only had one fast pass at a time. You couldn't book them until you got into the park. So there was no people booking them 2 months ahead of time. Nobody stealing all the fast passes. It meant that when you got in, you picked one ride and you got to keep doing that all through the day. When you used one up, you pick up another one. And they actually had lower caps on how many people used FastPass. They limited the numbers. What it meant was that your standby lines still moved. They weren't hindered as much by all the people using FastPass because the numbers were smaller. I think the percentages we counted was like 10 to 15%. You didn't feel like you were stuck waiting for them, with one exception, and that was Radiator Springs Racers, which they did the Disney World percentages, and it stunk. Because it had a line that should have taken about 15 minutes, and instead it took 45 because they let everybody through with FastPass. MaxPass was great. If you've ever used MaxPass, most people loved it. Our whole group loved it, raved about it. Now that you understand that, here comes Genie. Genie is essentially MaxPass. That's really what it is. At Disneyland, it used to be $15. They're changing a little bit. They're upping the price. Hey, guess what? Let's get our pennies. And now Disneyland's going to be $20, including the PhotoPass pictures. At Walt Disney World, it's going to be $15. It does not include the top rides, and it actually includes fewer rides. They're removing it from rides. That's a good thing. So here's the marketing spiel that they're giving you. The Genie is going to help you plan out your day. It's going to help you pick out the rides you want to do ahead of time. It's going to be watching the ride lines and queues and let you know when lines are going to be shorter. Basically, in behind-the-scenes speak, they're using it to try to encourage people to go ride rides and attractions at times when other people aren't, to even the crowds out a little bit. For you, it means the saved wait. For them, it means spreading the crowds out and making it much more balanced. That's a win-win. That's the free part. Then the plus part, the charge part, they will again allow you to book fast passes. They're now calling it something different. It's now being called Lightning Lane. It's a fast pass. They're letting you book it on your phone. You can only have one at a time, but unlimited for the mid-range rides, $15 or $20 a day, depending upon which park you're at. per person. You don't have to have it every day of your trip. You can only do it one day if you want. It won't include the Tier 1 rides, and there's 2 of those at each park. So if you think Magic Kingdom, you're looking at Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Flight of Passage, Ratatouille over at Epcot. Your big high-demand rides that everybody wants to get, those are the ones that are going to be on this and restricted. Rise of the Resistance is another one. Those are an extra charge on top of it, and in fact, you don't even have to get the Genie Plus to buy one of those. Yes, it's a way for them to grab money, but it's also got some possible benefits. So here's the benefits and the possible issues, and then we're going to kind of come to a conclusion on whether this is good or not. The benefits: there will be less people using it because of the extra charge. It means the Lightning Lane lines may not be as long as the current FastPass lines, which means they may not affect the standby lines as much. The one thing we noticed at MaxPass with Disneyland is not as many people used it because it did cost extra. Now, the extra charge, let's be honest, when you're spending $120 to $150 a day per ticket, $15 a person is not going to break your budget. If that's breaking your budget, you can't afford Disney anyways. It is an extra charge, and that may induce some people to say, nope, I'm not paying that, which means less people using the system. That, again, translates to less people in the Lightning lanes, less people slowing down the standby lanes, and your standby lane's still moving. But at the same time, you can save time with it. So it shouldn't impact the lines anywhere near as much as FastPass Plus does. It means you can't book 2 months in advance. You're allowed to be spontaneous again. You're not stuck into a rigid schedule or even necessarily which park. You can play and flex and move around. And that's a good thing. It allows you to be spontaneous. I like that. It's good at Disney parks because, hey, you're not stuck in, oh no, we're going to lose our FastPass that we booked if we don't go there now. It actually can, maybe, work out well for everyone in that way. Those who save time using Lightning Lane, and those who don't aren't spending money, but their lines aren't being smashed because of it. Maybe. Maybe. And here's where we run into the possible issues, because this is what we don't know. One, the My Disney Experience app is very glitchy. It has a lot of downtime. I'm cursed with it. It will work fine for me everywhere, but in Florida. And for whatever reason, it doesn't work in Florida, and I can't get it to work. Other family members' phones will work, but I can't get the My Disney Experience app to work. Well, if you can't get the My Disney Experience app to work in the parks, you can't get to Genie, you can't use the paid system, you're out of luck. That's something they need to get on. They need their tech people to get this stuff fixed. And My Disney Experience is a notoriously bad working app. That's got to be improved. Other huge question mark, what percentage of ride capacity are they going to be using for it? If they do like the old FastPass system with the paper tickets, that can work well. It wasn't a huge hit on capacity. Lines moved. When you had the old FastPass system, if you had a queue at Rock and Roller Coaster that filled the chains, you'd be looking at about 30 minutes. Now, half that queue is empty. The FastPass line itself is 45 minutes long, and that little tiny queue that used to take 15 minutes now takes an hour and a half. They need to fix the percentages. If they limit the percentages to 10 to 20%, it can work well. If they do this 70 to 90% they've been doing, it's not going to work. It's going to keep the system broken. The extra cost might limit how many use it, which would be a plus. Fewer people using it means better standby waits for everybody. But if there's a huge demand to use it, then they may shift more capacity to it, killing the standby lines and making people feel like they have to get it. And then it starts turning into this circle. If I don't get Genie Plus, then I'm stuck in long lines, and so I feel like I have to get Genie Plus, so I pay more for that, which drives that line longer, which means more people in the standby lines feel like they then have to get Genie Plus to make their visit worth it, and it starts turning into this loop where the only way to ride a ride is if you're on Genie Plus. You don't want that. However, here's the problem with that. With the extra surcharge on it, Disney recently, under Bob Chapek, has shown that it's all about bean counters and penny pinchers. They've got a recent history of cutting services and experiences and charging more. Magical Express from the airport, disappearing because it was a free service. Package delivery to your hotel room, which used to be free, is now $7 a deal. The photo pass boxes, let's cut back on people and let's put in automatic cameras. We're still waiting to see if this is what's going to be with the characters or not. I'm afraid of that. Stay at a Disney hotel, hey, now you still have to pay for parking, even though that should be a free perk for staying at the resort. When you look at the recent history in the parks, it's all about this. Let's cut services and charge more. And this is my big fear with this. Disney Genie Plus can be something that works amazingly. If it does like Disneyland with MaxPass, it can be a great system to give everybody the best of both worlds. Don't pay for it, hey, your lines are still shorter and they're moving. Pay for it, you do get to skip the lines. You do get to use your phone to book them. Honestly, we loved MaxPass at Disneyland. It was great. But given their recent penny pinching history and the unreliability of the My Disney Experience app, I'm definitely worried. I'm afraid this is going to turn into another deal where they're going to use it to squeeze every cent they can out of the customers. You almost can't even call them guests anymore because they don't know what that word means. I'm afraid it's going to turn into another way to pinch the pennies out of the guests, to squeeze it out of them, and, you know, if it ruins their future visit, oh well. We're basically going to have to wait and see. I hope it works. I think that the extra charge, if they keep the numbers limited, I think will actually work well. It will discourage people in a sense from using it, but encourage some. Just like Universal's Express Pass. It limits the number of people who use it. Those who use it, it's a wonderful benefit, but it doesn't affect the park visit for those who don't. And that's the balance you're looking for. Encourage people who want an extra to be able to use it, but don't make it so it hurts the people who don't. My ultimate conclusion, we're going to have to just wait and see. I know some people that will be there in January, and I know others. Hopefully they work this out. Oh, I hope. But ultimately, I'm not sure whether to trust them with it or not right now. What do you feel? What's your opinion? I would love to hear it. Please share it below. Don't forget to hit like, share the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so incredibly much to my supporters, and who knows, we might get to test this out myself at some point. That would be awesome, but we'll see. But my supporters are the ones who help make things like that happen. Check out Patreon or memberships here on YouTube. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. God bless. Normally you would have shows and character meet and greets and other things also absorbing characters. MaxPass, we used photo... Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind-the-scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.